When they told me my sole purpose of this Earth was to review the Wizards of Waverly Place reboot, I thought, this is beyond me. And then I realized, no, it's beyond Waverly Place. Wizards, to be exact. Yeah, we all remember the 4-season show on Disney Channel that had some rough patches. I feel like, unlike Hannah Montana, it didn't have the highest quality throughout its entire run, and they broke a record that Hannah Montana couldn't actually compete with. They made a reboot better than the original show. Yeah, Wizards Beyond Waverly Place is way better than the original, and that's not just a hot take, that's a hot tamale. My name is Johnny 2000s, focusing on 2000s media, movies, TV, and so much more, and we have to talk about how 2025 just happened to be the year that Wizards went overboard and came back with more than a splash, more than a wave of a wand, but the wave of a heart. Yeah, we're following a new cast with some old members coming back along for the ride, and the new characters are a lot more inviting than you would expect. We have 21 episodes exactly replicating the first season of the original series, something that I thought was really cool, but more than that, there is so many parallels in its new storytelling that makes it both a great continuation of the original series and also a great story on its own. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, I feel like you'd like this show too. And if you're a Wizards of Waverly Place fan, you're getting these characters in a whole new light, in a way the original show never could have gotten. So let's jump in together, and I'm going to tell you all about the 21 episodes I just spent watching and tell you how awesome they are. So sit down, get some popcorn, and let's jump into Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. Okay, so Season 1, Episode 1 is called Everything Is Not What It Seems, very aptly named after the original show's intro. Everything is not what it seems. And this show has a really good intro, but we'll get that into a second. So yeah, it's about this guy named Roman and his little brother, and he's playing on the Nintendo Switch when the episode starts, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Roman has a little brother named Milo, and Roman's kind of the neurotic one, and I would say Milo's more of like a Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle. He's just kind of a wild chaos card. He kind of acts older than he is, which is usually funny, and it's fun seeing this dynamic between the two boys. But the main character we got is Justin Russo, a 34-year-old man, which is interesting because most Disney Channel sitcoms don't really revolve around a main character that is older than the age demographic, but I guess this show's for millennials. We're introduced to the new character Billy, who is the one that is headlining this show. Immediately, we learn that she's kind of like a rebel. She's definitely caused a lot of problems in the wizarding world, and she's willing to take it to the mortal world. I feel like this show is doing a good job at separating itself from like the Harry Potter universe when it comes to their lore and focusing on the entire first series and what it set up. Seeing Justin have a 34th birthday is kind of crazy when you think about it. It makes me feel old too. And Selena Gomez is in the pilot, thank God. She's the one that kind of gets Justin to take on Billy as kind of like an apprentice-like deal, which is interesting because Justin never told the family that he was a wizard. Justin and Alex's dynamic hasn't changed at all since the Wizards of Waverly Place series. And it's nice to see them both in the same room, considering that the last special, Alex vs. Alex, had taken place after the events of the show, but didn't feature Justin. I thought for a second she was going to be a mainstay on the show, but unfortunately she's not a main character. It's just nice to see her involved, and to know that her and Justin are producing this show anyway makes me feel like everything that happens is pretty organic in terms of the lore. And I also saw the original showrunner is involved, so it's not like anybody's running blind here. The first episode does a really good job at setting everything up and also making the stakes really high. The only downside to it, I feel like, is the single location area. Like, I get it, we're trying to get used to this new place, but when you're doing a pilot for a new show, like 30 Rock, all these classic sitcoms, they would actually go different places. Like, it's important to make a big impression. I know it was probably budget friendly, but they didn't need to stay here. Having the family find out that Justin is a wizard is really interesting. Like, his wife is a detective, which kind of gives me Death Note vibes if you guys have seen that. It's basically the fact that Justin is a wizard could really hurt her career. Billy causes a lot of mischief and is pretty much a bad influence on the family, making Justin a little bit more hesitant to take her under his wing. She ends up revealing the secret to the whole family throughout the episode, and it drives a lot of tension, with Alex and Justin needing to come together as a family and make sure that this girl is safe. And Justin's really sweet in this. It's nice to see him try his best, but still resist everything that's going on, like almost in denial about it all. And Billy's just lucky she's hilarious, because I swear this character seems like she's up to no good all the time, and somehow this actress just makes it pretty effortless. So this episode is not really like the original pilot. The Crazy 10-Minute Sale was technically the first episode. I think they were trying to have the Magic Flying Carpet episode be the first, but this is the one that took over. It's hard to compare it to the first season of Wizards because each episode had a pretty unique location. Like, they had the Crazy 10-Minute Sale, First Kiss is when they're actually in the movie theater, New Employee takes place at the sub shop. Like, there's just a lot going on in the first season of Wizards of Waverly Place. So to see Beyond Waverly Place just try to be a normal at-home family sitcom is interesting. I feel like for the world of Wizards, it would be nice to have something even more impressive. It definitely reminds me of Disenchanted Evening, the 5th episode of the first season, which is kind of about Alex and Justin going head-to-head, but more so about Alex's parents meeting the parents of another young wizard, because there's all that dynamic of how the wizarding world works, wizards versus mortals, and I don't know, I feel like this episode sets that up a lot. It also spends a lot of time being at their regular locations, so the fact that it's a dinner party and ends with the plot in the house makes me feel like it's a lot more like the original show. And it's making me remember that they lived in New York, and now they're kind of in more of a suburb area. Something really unique to this show that I feel like is really good at separating it from the original. Speaking of separating it from the original, they try to have a through line where there is somebody following Billy. A good job at making this show serialized, because even when we get to the second episode, Mortal Vibes Only, it's about Billy helping Justin keep this whole secret from his family, which is also interesting because she's trying not to get kicked out. Like, she's very self-conscious about the fact that she wants to stay here and actually learn a little bit more about magic one-on-one, but the fact that she's not necessarily welcome in the family kind of brings out the rebel side in her a lot. We get a lot of cool references to the original show, though. Like, we see the original sub shop in the painting in the kitchen. Already all the vibes that Billy give are Alex Russo, so it's really hard to not feel at home when you're watching this show. This episode's good at Justin setting the boundary between the mortal world and the regular world, which is essentially this whole plot. It's her juggling this double life, and Justin dealing with it as well. I wonder what it would have been like if it was just Justin as the main character and it wasn't following Billy. Like, I wonder if they thought about that. Oh, the theme song is what we got to talk about. This is a banger. It is such an upgrade from the original show. I mean, the original show is very classic 2000s. Definitely reminds me of the music we were listening to at the time, so the pop music. And this one becomes a lot more rock and roll. And it's very welcoming because it makes you feel like you're watching an angstier show than it actually is.
Would it seem? Yes, please.
Oh, I did forget to mention that the boys do know Billy is a wizard, so they were very involved in this plot when it comes to keeping this secret. We actually see how much of a threat they are to her training. So Billy keeps this promise to Justin that she will keep the wizarding world separate from the human world, but obviously she uses her powers to help Milo and Roman, which is very disrespectful. She just promised him. Got some really interesting spells in this episode, one that actually makes them go in slow-mo, which I was not expecting. And it's cool that they actually go into the mirror to access the lair. Like, it's still the original lair, and that's a really interesting way to justify that they just go back to the same one. So to undo her mistake, she tries to cover up one spell with another spell. It's kind of like the Cat in the Hat book where he tries to get rid of that stain and he keeps messing it up and making it worse. That's what she does here. So she uses an eraser spell, but accidentally erases the bottom half of Roman and the top half of Milo, which is a lot funnier than I thought it would be. I thought it would be really cheesy, but the fact that they actually are committed to it for a lot of the episode is hilarious. Justin's wife gets a lot more suspicious of his secrets, so he actually stays pretty consistent in the A and B plot. I really like that because it's so easy to write off the adult characters and just try to give it to the new cast, and I like that they're keeping us grounded in the original series like that. It is a funny gimmick that she just has him in the garage and is questioning him like it's some kind of interrogation. It says a lot about her character, and you know, I've been wondering thus far, why isn't this character Harper? Like, why couldn't they just have Justin marry Harper? This girl's also redhead. Like, literally, it shouldn't have been that hard. But I think the fact that they're trying to give her such a bold personality is so far off from Harper and what they wanted the dynamic of the main cast to be that it made sense we went with this woman. And while she feels unfamiliar at times, I feel like seeing her push herself into the main cast is really interesting. Not only is she suspicious of Justin, she's also kind of suspicious of Billy, and she doesn't really know what's going on. She couldn't imagine that it's about wizards. There's a little bit of lore here where we're connected to the first series by Justin having a job at Wiztech, and apparently he gave that up and kind of tried to give up his wizard powers, despite the fact he still had them. We can dive more into that as we go through. Then there's a really good bit where Justin finally finds out that Billy is using magic around the house because Milo and Roman try to look like they're becoming the same person. Like when Milo loses his upper half, Roman loses his bottom half, and they try to make it look like a walking person. I don't know why, that's just such a funny gimmick to me. So things take a really bad turn when Billy accidentally reveals the wizard's secret to Justin's wife, who is understandably upset. Like, you've been married to this person for quite some time, had kids with them, and you never told him you're a wizard? Well, he does now, and that's enough to make Billy so embarrassed that she ruined the family that she runs away. Justin has to go convince her to come back, and it's really a sweet moment to see his teacher side come out and actually encourage Billy to be her best self, because I feel like when there's troubled kids, it's usually hard to reach them, but with kindness, it's a lot better. So I mentioned before there was a through line through these episodes. Yeah, so the ghost comes at the end of this. So this really weird extraterrestrial being comes to the bench that Justin and Billy sat at, and it's just like, oh, I smell a young wizard around here, let me go get him. And it's honestly kind of cheesy. I wish they put this aside or made this a part of the next episode, because this is not necessary. But it does grip me in, why would somebody be looking for Billy? It's weirdly similar to the first episode in the fact that they are staying in the house for 90% of it, and I get it. We're trying to get used to it, but at this point, I want to see more locations. Then the next episode, I get my wish. Saved by the Spell, season 1, episode 3. Such a funny name, parodying Saved by the Bell. This one's really adorable because it's Billy trying to go to a mortal school. This is something she's never done before, and Roman's advice is to just find her people, which I don't know who your people are, Roman, but I don't think she's gonna fit in with them. She's insecure about making friends because she's a wizard, that was her whole personality, and going into school might be too intimidating for her, which is definitely relatable. I feel like that's how I feel about making videos. So Justin is a teacher at this school, and they make a reference to Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez follows her.
It's kind of insane. I don't like a joke being that meta, but I guess they're just gonna do it. So Gaeta has her first experience with a wizard world when a frog visits the house and is warning them that somebody is going to be after wizards. Therefore, they cannot be doing spells outside of the house. So Justin is the vice principal of this school, and he's actually trying to pitch something to the PTA, but this frog that showed up at the doorstep is insistent on talking to him. So this wife, so she ends up bringing the frog all the way to the middle school, and then the vice principal's assistant doesn't even let her in, which is kind of funny. I really like this guy's character. So of course we should be worried because they're talking about the fact they should not be using magic, and Billy starts using it. So Roman has a friend here named Winter, and they're both nerds. They both like to have a good time, while Billy's getting struck out everywhere. She won't even get the mascot to be her friend, which reminds me in middle school. In order to impress Winter, she actually uses magic to try to form a connection, which is actually really sad. I wish she knew just how to socialize. She relies on wizarding so much to a point of detriment. It is really crazy. But if I were in middle school, I would definitely use magic as much as possible. Roman plays the Justin Russo character to her Alex, where he's essentially following her around, warning her not to use magic, and it feels pretty basic Wizards of Waverly Place episode. Roman and Billy kind of get into a fight in science class when she steals Winter as a partner, and it's fun seeing them duel over Winter like that. It is sad though, because Winter was just about to be her friend until she told her she was a wizard. Then Winter thought she was crazy, which is the opposite of what Billy wanted. She wanted to make a friend because of being a wizard, but in this instance, it really repelled her. Justin being the vice principal is extremely fitting, and if anything, I would have loved to see this in the second episode. He's giving a whole presentation to the PTA when Gaeta is trying to get his attention about the frog. It's been one episode that they all know they're wizards, and suddenly everything has hit the walls. Like, wizards are hitting them at every direction. When Billy tries to apologize to Winter and tell her that she wasn't lying, she then needs to prove to her that she wasn't lying. Which is perfect timing because this mysterious being we saw at the end of the second episode actually comes into the science class in this episode and possesses Roman. So there's direct consequences to all Billy's actions when she's just trying to fit in. Of course, Winter witnesses this firsthand, seeing Roman possessed and Billy not knowing what to do. And this is terrifying. Like, Roman possessed is so creepy. He looks like a ragdoll being thrown around. The action sequences get a little awkward when they go on a beat too long. Like, when Billy is, like, stuck by the wizard's wrath, like, it looks a little cheesy. But I feel like we all suspend our disbelief enough because of how funny the show is. Like, honestly, it's good. It reminds me of the end of the pilot when they're facing that monster in Roman's room. Like, that's kind of what happens here. Justin comes in to save the day and actually help capture the Phantom, which he actually guides Billy to do, which is really nice. Like, I like that she's actually getting a chance to learn how to be a wizard. Despite the fact that Justin and Billy had two separate plots that kind of came together at the end, it felt a little disconnected with these guys. Like, I like seeing their dynamic together a lot. Maybe just as much as her and Roman. This episode actually reminds me of season 2. It's episode 1, Smarty Pants, when Alex uses the Smarty Pants to win the quiz bowl. Mainly for the fact that it's a school-centric episode, which is a lot of the second season. Like, I couldn't find a first season episode of Wizards to really reference, but Justin and Alex's antagonistic approach to each other when it comes to the quiz bowl is a lot like this episode. Having Mr. Larry Tate be the one that's kind of facilitating everything. There's just a lot of dynamics that feel copy and pasted here, but in a good way. Like, this is Billy's first day at school, and she's just trying to fit in, and it feels a lot more grounded than the original Wizards of Waverly Place episodes, which is kind of crazy. I didn't expect it to almost live up to the show, but I do think it does a good job at doing that, even if the characters feel a little too new. Episode 4, of course, we have to have a Halloween episode in the first season of this. Why not? Something Wizard This Way Comes is a Halloween episode, and apparently how the mortals take Christmas is how wizards take Halloween. Like, it's their main holiday, which super relevant. I feel like that's nice. Justin apparently is going to be the principal this week because the regular principal is out and the vice principal is in, so he's not really dressed for Halloween. Don't know why that has to do with the plot, but their whole B plot is defending the house from pranksters because they assume that kids will always try to prank the house of the school principal. Meanwhile, the main plot is Roman and Billy, actually. Billy is so sick of the way the mortals celebrate Halloween, and she kind of wants her old traditions back. She tells the tale of Pumpkin Belly, which is a ghoul who eats anybody whose house isn't spookily decorated, okay? And at first, they don't believe it's gonna actually happen, but then Roman realizes that Billy's not kidding when they leave out the scarecrow. So Billy tries to warn the family that this guy's actually coming, and then they find out that everything that might have been a sign for Pumpkin Belly to come was just Gata and Justin and Milo defending the house. It definitely disappoints Billy, and she's like realizing how different this new life is from her old one, and that is going to be a reoccurring thing this whole season. As Roman and Billy wait for trick-or-treaters, guess who shows up at the door? I'm going to give you one. It's Pumpkin Belly. So Pumpkin Belly eats Roman and Billy immediately. And I like that they took this further. I feel like this was about to be over when they were having that little talk between Billy and the mom, but it's nice to see that there's actually a threat going on. Essentially, the rest of the episode is a countdown to how long it's going to take to get Justin to realize that they're missing. Oh my gosh, and Pumpkin Belly eats Winter too. Wow. Okay, this episode does kind of get a little spooky. Just the fact that they're all being eaten alive on Halloween night. I kind of like that concept. They get out of Pumpkin Belly by opening a bunch of soda, and they fall onto the floor, which honestly was a moment where you could have made it a little bit more gross, not just like random pumpkin stuff all over them. Like, you could have did a little bit more set design for this one. Overall, it was a great Halloween episode. I feel like the first show didn't actually have a Halloween episode in its first season. The scariest it got was the movies episode with Tiffany Thornton. In the episode, Justin and Alex get warped into a bunch of scary movies, which is a really fun concept. I feel like that was a little bit more original than this. Whatever they ended up making work, like this whole legend tale, is really good, but I feel like it was a little anticlimactic the way it played out. Overall, this is Justin's funniest episode to me, with Billy actually getting comfortable with the family, and her and Roman seem to be getting along a lot more after this episode. Once again, the entire episode takes place just at their house, which is starting to bother me. I don't really want to binge watch this if they're going to keep doing the same It starts to feel the same, honestly. Season 1, Episode 5 is called Wizards Just Want to Have Fun, which is kind of a nice pun. I'm liking all the puns in these episodes. They definitely are very good. We finally start out an episode that the classic series would do, with Justin and Billy actually training in the lair, which I really like. I like it when they bring callbacks like this. Speaking of the classic spell, she uses a Jbano Utusis from the original show and duplicates herself, leaving her duplicate with Justin in the lair. And that is like the most Alex thing she could have possibly done. Billy thinks that Justin needs to loosen up, so she decides to pull a prank on him. So she goes to this wizarding website that actually has a bunch of prank stuff. Roman is dealing with his own issues where he's tired of losing to another team in volleyball. Real fun. He uses the same website Billy does and actually tries to get like buff arms. Meanwhile, Justin's getting ready for the ultimate job interview. He's finally going to be principal if he nails this interview. This gimmick is actually really good. So it turns out Justin does get the present because the next day when they're at school, Billy goes into the principal's office, finds him super small, like the size of a peanut, not knowing that he has this interview going on. So, and this is kind of like a Zoom reference. He does the interview, but they kind of warp the perspective to make it look like he's normal size. And it's definitely reminding me of some of the Shrink episodes they had of Wizards. I forget which ones they did. Meanwhile, while they're trying to get away with that, Muscle Bob McGee over here, Roman, comes in with full biceps, ready to take down the other team. And this other team looks like they're from high school. I feel like high schoolers should be versing middle schoolers in this way. Seeing Roman get super popular is such a funny idea for this show, considering everything they've taught us about him so far. Like, he does have that side where he could kind of milk his confidence a little too much. Then we got a cool twist in this episode. So the guy interviewing Justin actually shows up to Billy's house and the Russos' house, I guess. That's kind of weird. He gives out a lot of information than he should to Billy, saying that he's not actually going to get the principal job. And it's really sad because Billy realizes this is probably because of her prank. She feels guiltier and guiltier as the episode goes on, which is fair. Good to see that she has a heart. When Roman's super confident, he challenges the other team to a physical fight, taking his biceps a little too far. When he doesn't have them anymore, they actually expect him to fight. Oh my gosh. I don't know why this other team isn't questioning the sudden fluctuation of Roman's exterior. It's nice to see him and Winter get along in this episode. I feel like I don't see a lot of their dynamic, but just the fact it's like him being overconfident and her trying to reel it in is funny, because she could be a goofball sometimes. Like, she's not necessarily the straight man character. Billy has a really touching speech to this man, trying to convince him to give Justin another try. And he's like, okay, well, if there's no shenanigans, then fine. And just as he says that, Justin comes riding in on a hamster. And this is the best Wizards VFX in the entire franchise. Like, look at him driving down the street with this hamster. It is so epic. Justin inevitably gets the job and realizes that he should lighten up a little bit, and that little hamster ride really took him for a spin. And I like that these two plots are coming together. I do feel like I want to see Justin and Billy in the same A plot as opposed to Billy in the A, Justin in the B, and then they come together later. Like, I get it. You're trying to weave in both new and old characters, but make it more natural. Then we have season 1, episode 6, The Legend of Creepy Follows. And this one is about social media. Yeah, a really modern Wizards Beyond Waverly Place episode. Something I've always wanted from the original series that never quite translated to the new one. So Billy is given a tablet from the school, and it actually allows her to access this social media website, which why in the world would any school do that? I can guarantee you give me even a half of a reason to text one of my friends during class, I will do so. It becomes a whole thing where Billy is caring about followers, and pretty creative way to weave it into the Wizards world. Justin admits that he is the one who created that thing, and it's like, oh, Justin, aren't there other people at the school? Like, it doesn't have to be this consolidated. Like, moments like that make me feel like the show's written like a play. Like, you don't have to make all these characters work like that. Ooh, we get another of this old man floating to talk to Billy, and I like this because it reminds me of Professor Crumb by Spirit. It's the Wizard Encyclopedia, which is a really creative way to kind of have the rules explained to Billy, even though she already knows them. The creative thing about this episode is they use it in kind of a literal sense where Billy wishes for followers but didn't listen to what Encyclopedia said, and sure, they follow her on the social media exactly as they desired, but then they become zombies that are essentially only following the person around. So yeah, Billy has a bunch of literal zombie followers. This plot is so uniquely this show that I am just all around invested in what's going on at this point. Lucky for Billy, while she's enjoying all this popularity, Justin is just getting used to being a principal. And I'm starting to feel bad for his B-plots because it's starting to get a little bit boring. Like, guys, adults are not that boring. And in a C-plot, for whatever reason, Milo ends up meeting the Encyclopedia in the wizard lair. And this guy is really friendly, especially for the fact that he knows this is immortal. Like, why would he be so open to this? And they actually form a nice connection, like very father-son energy, and not necessary for the episode, but sure, it's cute. Billy gets tired of being followed around by literally everybody, and it becomes a nightmare for her. I love how Roman's the responsible one up until it actually can benefit him, and then he just goes haywire. Like, he gets Billy to actually turn the crowd to him, and it allows him to sign this petition, because everybody is ignoring him while he's trying to give out this petition. But this is kind of perfect. I wish I did this. Something kind of insane that I gasped when I heard was that the Wizard Encyclopedia apparently warned Billy earlier that the person who gets the followers is going to be eaten alive by them because it's based on this old folk tale, which is really cool and interesting. Oh, but yeah, I guess Roman is in trouble for sure. So apparently the only way to really break the spell is to break all these iPads. Whoa, dark. She manages to save Roman's life and he is grateful, but it's not like they were in a fight anyway or something grew to this moment, so it doesn't really matter. Although seeing Justin get super mad at this whole ordeal is funny. I just wish he had more plot in the episode. The Wizard Encyclopedia says that he had such a good time with Milo that he's gonna create an entry just for him. It's so funny because usually Billy would get a lot of consequences for using magic to this extent, like especially in the episodes before this, but it seems like when they all return to the house in the living room, they're just like, guess that happened, and nobody really gets in big trouble. I don't know. While it felt like a step back for Justin's character, it definitely felt like a step forward for Roman and Billy, and it was a fun episode. But it's been enough episodes since a cameo. I feel like I need another cameo soon. These episodes feel like they have the quality of Wizards of Waverly Place Season 1, but they have the gall of Wizards of Waverly Place Season 4, where they're not just afraid to throw out as many wizard stuff as possible. Like, they don't even care if we're focused on this or not. It reminds me of that episode Alex's Choice Season 1, Episode 7 from the original series, where we actually see Alex's character's desire for other people's approval. Like, Harbor has to go along with it, and she uses magic aside from everybody to try to be able to fit in, and it just gives the same vibe of that original show. Okay, so the next episode we have is we're gonna need a bigger float, and this one is actually pretty creative. It's more Roman-centric. In this episode, he is creating a float for a parade. Billy wants to really be involved in the process of making it, but Justin says she can't until she finishes her wizard tests, which she really hasn't yet. The cool part of this episode is that she's trying to get her work done and wants a shortcut, so she calls the wizard helpline, which is called the Spelp line. And when I was watching this, I was super surprised to see that Jerry Russo is actually the guy on the Spelp line. So for the first appearance of him in this season, they don't even know each other. Billy and Jerry are just kind of like approaching each other. He warns her pretty quickly that the Spelp line can't help with like homework or anything.
Revenge on a loved one, revenge on a hated one, and under no circumstances of any kind will we give you answers to homework.
So she lies and she says it's just to fill out paperwork. So he teaches her a completionist spell. It's so funny to see Jerry back and quirkier than ever. Like, seeing him in retirement but still doing wizard things is really fun. And we see more of his fun side since he doesn't really have to be the straight man character as much. Although that was kind of my favorite role he played in the original Wizards. Like, here he's a lot more freewheeling. As you can imagine, learning this completionist spell does not lead to good things. Billy uses that spell on Roman's float, and next thing you know, it becomes like the best float ever. to a point where it literally floats, and Roman is hanging off the rope that's holding it as they all are lifted into the sky, and honestly, this is my biggest nightmare. Like, I'm not afraid of heights, but falling is a different story. The episode gives me that vibe of the Magic Carpet episode where they're trying to do flying lessons, just because it's about the main character wanting to learn something, but instead taking the cheap shortcut in order to do it. They even see the Statue of Liberty, and everything about sitting on this float would not be so casual for me. Like, I feel like Milo and Billy are just standing on it, like, as if it's no big deal. But guys, I would be freaking out. They can't even get down. There's a little bit more of a character dynamic when Justin ends up finding out that Billy used a spell from the Spellblind, and he reconfronts Jerry, his dad. And automatically, I'm liking how complicated it is. Like, their relationship seems to be a little bit more, fragile than before, especially under this context of him teaching this wizard and not necessarily doing it right, but of course, doesn't make Jerry look good that he helped her. They kind of talk about how Billy could possibly be unteachable, and they actually end up having a heart-to-heart where Jerry has to tell him that he is actually a good wizard teacher, which I guess he is. I don't really know off of what we've seen so far. My favorite part in the episode is when they're trapped on the float in the sky, and Billy asks Roman for help out of it, and it's like, of course he can't help. He doesn't know anything about magic. Like, that's just such a funny joke to me. Things get even more complicated as they're about to hit a plane, which could mean death for all of them. The float does plop and starts plummeting, and Billy manages to make it fall slower, so inevitably, it didn't end up working out. Nobody won in the end. They're just lucky they survived, honestly. It reminds me of, like, when me and my neighbors used to, like, take our bikes and go to, like, a really dangerous neighborhood or forest and get ourselves lost. Like, you just want to get into trouble when you're a kid, I feel like. All around, it was really fun to see Jerry Russo come back into the frame, and not just, like, normal, like, he actually has a conflict and helps Billy in. Like, it's a good episode for that. I would definitely recommend this to any actual Wizards of Waverly Place fans, because it's some good fan service. Then the next episode we have after that is You Can't Handle the Tooth, and this is oddly relevant for me because I just had my wisdom teeth taken out. I know. Attack me in the comments. I should have gotten it out years ago, but it hurts, and that's kind of what Justin's going through in this episode. Billy's getting fed up with Justin because he's being a lot more, hard on everybody, like kind of cranky. Gata explains it's because of the toothache he's been having, and he has peas strapped to his face to avoid the pain, because guys, it is painful, trust me. I wish I had Billy to yank my teeth out when this happened, and that's what she does. She uses a spell to pull teeth out of Justin's mouth and make him less cranky, and so the spell involves the word wisdom, and it turns out to take away his general wisdom, not just his teeth. So Justin becomes this rebel that's running around, acting like a little surfer boy, wanting to break all the rules. And it's funny because the dynamics completely switch, and Billy tries to be the responsible one. Next thing you know, she's trying to stop Justin from doing all these irresponsible spells and quit acting like a teenager, which is so funny because, of course, he's the principal at a school. He dresses kind of, I don't even know the term of, like, a sideways hat.
This is my gooses!
But completely neglects his responsibilities, almost sending his life into an issue. Like, using magic all willy-nilly is really new for Justin. I never expected to see him go this crazy with it. He even grants Milo and Roman the coolest tree house, which just looks like a ball pit in their backyard that you would find it like a skating rink. And they're trapped there the whole episode, which is kind of weird. We just had a parade episode where they're trapped on the float the whole time, and now they're trapped in a balloon house. I don't know how they're this trapped, honestly. Things only go so far as Justin actually wishes the school away. Or not wishes, he uses his magic powers to get rid of the school. And Billy is like, okay, this has gone way too far. Like, you can't just get rid of the school because you don't want responsibilities, kind of putting her in the parental role and having to clean up all of it. It's really cute because he runs away in the same way Billy did a couple episodes earlier and goes to this same wizard park bench, which is nice as an addition to the set, allowing them to visit wizard-like places without necessarily going too far. Like, they have the wizard lair and now they have this bus stop, because otherwise they've been at the house for most of this location. Billy is finally able able to get the wisdom back into Justin's brain, which also looks like it must hurt. Kind of reminds me of the episode from season 1, Justin's little sister, and in this episode, it's kind of similar in the sense that the main character makes a spell that Justin is the center point of the problems for it. Like, in that episode, Justin becomes more and more invisible, and Alex just keeps making it worse, in the same way that Justin is going haywire in this episode with Billy's spell. It definitely rung a lot of nostalgia, and I liked this one a lot. Like, I feel like seeing Justin be part of the central episode is a lot more inviting. I feel like I want to see more of him, but they try to push him to the B-plot a little more often than his character is supposed to be. Things get changed up again in Nigh, Wiztaken Identity. Once again, Billy and Justin are struggling to get along in the wizard lair training, where she accidentally explodes his stuffed toy, which would kind of break my heart. Poor Justin, I feel bad in this moment. We're learning that Billy has a really important test with one of the wizarding commissioners coming to check how she's doing with her magic. So it's actually really important that they get this stuff right. Roman talks about as if he would be a wizard and be Billy's rival, which she's like, no, there's no world where I would have a rival and it be you. Like, of all people, the B-plot in this episode is the most mundane I've ever seen. It's basically Milo is doing a pro pickleball game, and he teams up with his mom, Gaeta, and they take down his arch nemesis with this girl and her mother. Nothing worthy of noting actually happens in this, except for the introduction of this girl character, which we'll jump into in a couple episodes from now. That's all you really need to know about that plot. The episode title comes from the idea that Billy ends up giving Roman her powers for a full hour. So he becomes the wizard just to prove that he would be a bad one or a good one. I kind of lost track.
Well, if we were being chased by a killer pillow, I'd know who to call.
So Billy's worried of losing her powers because of this. Like, you're not supposed to give your magic to a mortal. But hey, I guess I could have told you that. So it's really important that Roman actually passes this test in order to draw attention away from Billy. Oh my gosh, guys. Justin notices this is going on and tells her about how this is a federal crime. I mean, a wizard crime, I guess. And he tries to take the blame for her for the commissioners, which is actually kind of sweet, but Billy ends up taking responsibility anyway. But it turns out this isn't even the actual commissioner. It turns out to be somebody pretending to be her, and it's just a evil wizard. Now they need Roman to get out of the situation, as he's the only one with the powers, and this fake wizard-like being that might be the one from the episodes before it. Still a little confused about the plan to take over Billy. It's very vague and subtle, so I don't really know how to piece it together quite yet. It basically keeps them all hostage. And this is where it kind of gets cheesy. Billy ends up getting that stuffed animal to come to life, that bear from earlier in the episode. So she manages to do the puppeting spell and has this bear in a costume defeat the evil villain. And I'm telling you, I'm tired of having these major plot points all happen within the living room of this family. It's like bleeding too much into sitcom. Luckily, every episode has been formatted this way so far, like just something happens in the kitchen, the living room. They find a way to get one new location every so often, but the fact it's consistent definitely gets my attention and makes me feel like it's an artistic choice. The episode ends with the real commissioner showing up, and turns out she doesn't find out that Billy gave her powers away to Roman for this amount of time, so she gets away with it. Yeah, okay. Fair enough, guys. We get one new piece of lore at the very end of the episode where the woman that's in jail that Roman and Billy defeated actually reports to somebody else, and it turns out there is like a full-blown plan to get Billy. Kinda terrifying, right? I do like the idea of having wizards be under a hostage situation. Like, it's very unique to the episode. Episode 10 is called Ain't Gnome Party, like a wizard party. Okay, these are getting really entertaining. In this episode, Billy is reconnecting with an old friend she had at Wiztech, you know, the school she got kicked out of. She's kind of bringing her old life into her new one as she introduces her friend to, like, Winter. But right off the bat, this girl is no good and not interested in this new version of Billy where she's a good person. She wants her old prankster friend back, and it's so funny, this girl is, like, kind of more influencer, like very young Gen Z. She's not afraid to use magic whenever she feels like it, even wishing a gnome onto their kitchen table. Billy has an identity crisis, which is really interesting for a kid, because she's not sure if she fits in with the mortal world or the wizard world anymore. And it's definitely reminding me of Danny Phantom when he's struggles to feel like he's half ghost, half human. Like, which identity do you deal with the most? And that's probably one of my favorite parts of Billy, is how she deals with it. Like, she's not super serious, and she leans toward always doing the right thing as opposed to the fun thing. Although you will see her do the wrong thing a lot. To be cool and fit in with her friend, Billy takes this opportunity to throw a party at the Russos' house while they're away. We step into that stereotypical sitcom trope where it's like the parents are away, so they try to throw a party. But this time it's a bunch of wizards. And wizards remind me a lot of like college kids, because they're just doing spells over everything, causing destruction with no attention to their consequences. Roman at first is really concerned about the whole situation until he ends up falling for this girl that's dressed as a pixie. She might actually be a pixie, but I don't know. I like that Winter isn't really opposed to the whole party. She's just getting into it the whole time. Like, that's funny.
Here's a fun thing I've never said. A werewolf is using the couch as a scratching post. I love this party.
In order to prove that she's really fitting in, Billy kicks it up a notch and is like, to make this party better, let's do a shadow box, which is this little box that when you go inside, it's like your deepest, darkest fears, with Winter going in first. Oh my gosh, of course, the most like lovable character. So Billy, next thing you know, she has to jump in to go save her, pretty much ruining her reputation fast. But she needs something so much better than that. Like, when she actually goes in to save Winter, she realizes that she actually likes Billy for being Billy, which is something they addressed in the second episode when they actually became friends. It's not about her being a wizard, it's about her being herself, which is a really sweet resolution for a family show like this. It just makes me think of iCarly a lot, where it's like they kind of followed all the main characters into their adult life, as opposed to this show where we're following a younger wizard into her teenage life with just a sprinkle of the main characters. In the B plot, this gnome that Billy's old friend possessed ends up switching bodies with Milo, making him like a freak. Like, he's trying to do all these tricks, and then the gnome is just trying to survive on his own, and it's poor little Milo. So Bella, who is Milo's enemy, ends up finding suspicion with him and his sunflower, which is pretty bad timing because that whole gnome switch is just about to go back to normal, and she's really smelling something wrong here. She becomes more and more of a problem as the season progresses, which is a lot more interesting. It's like not Billy's enemy, but one of the neighbors. Something that really bothers me about this episode, though, is everything seems to be taking place around the same time, but in the B plot with Milo and all, it's daytime. Like, Justin and Gata are cleaning out the garage, and meanwhile, Billy is going through this entire night party, and we just kind of don't address it. Once she and Winter finally get out of the box, Billy stands up for herself, says that she cares more about being herself than being cool, and aw, that's a sweet moment. And I just feel better for Roman because he wasn't completely rejected that quickly. Good for him. And the little fairy girl wants to see him again. Aw, that's so sweet. You think Billy gets away without any consequences until the family comes together and a werewolf comes out of the bathroom, and it's like, okay, you used our home. The end. This episode reminds me a lot of Harper Knows, the episode where Alex finally tells Harper about her wizarding powers, but just in the sense that it's the best friend dynamic, and Alex kinda is jumping between obligations between the mortal world and the wizarding world. And I feel like this episode does it a little bit more interesting. I don't know why, just like seeking the approval of an old friend is just a fun concept, and I like it when they do that in TV shows. Now, the crazy thing about the next episode, season 1, episode 11, Potions 11, yeah, the first season of the original series, Wizards, their 11th episode of the first season is Potion Commotion. In that episode, Justin is trying to get a place in the UN World School Summit, and this guy, Brad, is trying to compete with him, so she ends up mixing her potion and accidentally getting Brad to fall for her, which is definitely a funny concept, and everything just goes worse because it's all these after effects of potions and kind of how they were. I like when we focus on not just spells specifically. In this episode, Justin grounds both Billy and Roman for trying to help Roman be good at sports, which is so funny. They have to both stay in their rooms, but Billy ends up saying that Justin must have used magic irresponsibly himself at one point, and he denies that this has ever happened. And this is where we get into some really fun nostalgia.
So you turn yourself into a mop to avoid homework, but you'll study on Saturday out of spite?
I'm a complicated woman, Roman.
There's a little montage where Billy does some sleuthing to try to get some evidence. So Billy throws all of his DNA and toenails and stuff into this magic potion that allows her and Roman to get inside his psychology, I guess. It turns to be like an inside-out situation where they're both in control of Justin, right when he has a really important thing to do with the school. They find a whole DVD case of memories that Justin went through, and of course it's just episodes of Wizards of Waverly Place. And it's so fun to see clips of the original show in context of the new show, seeing the judgment from Billy and Roman as Justin proclaiming he's this perfect person. And they got some really funny throwbacks in here. Instead of finding things to actually use against Justin, they end up finding out why he got fired from Wiztek. And of course, they made his hair go down for this plot. Of course, he looks younger like that. It reminds me of season 3 Justin when he had the bangs down. I don't know why. They learn that this guy who framed Justin to get him fired from Wiztek actually replaced his memory so he would forget this entire moment. Roman and Billy end up defending him and actually fighting the physical man that had this happen. I don't like how minimalist this plot is, though. Like, the guy coming in is so short and the fight with him is even shorter. I do like that we have a lot of like parallel storylines where we get to see Justin's actual B plot be affected by what Billy's doing in the A plot. Like, that's really impressive. And the fact they named it after a season 1 episode is even better. I would talk about the subplot where Winter and Gaida are both cooking, but it's really not that fun. They just burn a bunch of dishes. I don't know what to tell you about that. Billy learns that misusing magic has some pretty bad consequences, especially when she sees it ruin his life, which is a really cool generational plotline where you actually get to see a millennial warning a Gen Z person about what could possibly happen if they don't do something, and seeing her witness it firsthand and actually grow from it as a character is really heartwarming. Number 12 is very good at catching the vibe of the first season. It's called Battle of the Wands, and they kind of add to the Wizards lore while also still remaining to be a really funny episode. It kind of reminds me of Curb Your Dragon. I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but basically the Russo kids wanted to get a dog that was essentially a dragon. The dragon goes haywire, is not really a dog, and they have to keep it from the parents. It's a lot of standard wizards getting into the mortal world hijinks, and that's kind of what this episode is. So Billy is asking Justin, her new teacher, about going to the wizard world to be able to see some underground wizardry. There's like a Battle of the Wands thing that goes down, and it's pretty underground, like only skeevy people do it. I don't know what word to use to describe, but like dangerous. Like Justin is not approving of this event. The way they disagree on going to it is also really funny. Like Billy and Justin feel like they're being a lot more figured out than they were before. And then everybody else wants to go too. Like Roman somehow wants to go. Milo is going to be the one in charge of actually distracting the parents long enough so they could sneak out and do this. It's so funny to see Milo attempt to convince Justin and Gaida that they're all in the house somehow. Like, he keeps throwing last minute controversies at them just to keep them busy. It's so funny. Like, in order to let them get out of the house, he's like, I want to know about death. And it's like, what? They pretty much escape. Billy is a pretty bad influence on this family. She essentially got everybody to go to the wizard underground world. And there's a lot of people that they recognize here. It almost feels like in middle school when you're going to the mall and you see like the kids you don't like, or a girlfriend you broke up with, or a teacher you didn't like. I don't know. It's old. I feel like it's just the only thing you have going on for yourself when you're growing up and trying to go through high school. At first, Billy isn't able to get in, so they say that she has to get approval from this one floating hand, and it's actually really fun. They do some good wizard puns in this show. Like, we are not giving them enough credit for that. And it definitely gives me vibes of the old series, like the cheesiness of the costumes, and like still being sets. I don't know why. It's very nostalgic for Wizards. There's this really funny joke of like this man saying that in 2007 things were so much better and he was the man in 2007, and it's a back and forth that seems pretty meaningless, but that's the year this show originally came out, so it's funny to see them like laughing about it. Like, it's kind of meta humor. Eventually Milo can't keep up the charade. His parents end up seeing that the kids are not home, and I don't know why it took them that long, honestly. Justin, you could have been a better father. Justin finds his way over to the wizard world and gets these kids kid's in trouble. And it's so funny because Roman accidentally reveals that they had a party the previous episode, which it's so funny. I forgot that Justin never found that out. So hearing them acknowledge it is actually kind of gold. And I can't believe Winter, Roman, like, why do the mortals go in so much and everybody just takes it in as normal? Like, they could just always go to the wizard world? Is this really that big of a deal every time? It is giving me a lot of Harry Potter vibes, which is kind of fun. The really wholesome part of the episode is when Justin realizes that she's not just doing this bad act of running away and trying to be defiant on purpose, like, she actually is here because she's embarrassed she had to get kicked out of Wiztech. And so it's kind of this duality of she's really ashamed and was just doing this out of that reason. When Justin realizes that that's why, he actually encourages her to go and fight them.
Russos versus Dragonberries.
Then they have this battle, which is actually really cool, adds to the wizard lore, and it's Justin and Billy teaming up against this school bully, using their wands and magic, and whew, the effects are so much better in this day and age than they were back then. I feel like I'm actually falling for this. Oh my gosh, the fairy from the last episode that Roman had a crush on is here too. Oh, that's sweet. So yeah, the guy from 2007, we thought he was irrelevant. Yeah, but he's back. He's with the bully and fights on his side. And this bully looks like he's like 20 years older than Billy, which I guess, I don't know what school they were going to. Wizards are weird. Inevitably, Billy ends up winning and actually gets a lot more pride back. She gives him the trophy, which I would not have done. Like, that's a bully. You don't have to encourage him. But overall, Justin's proud. They form a stronger connection because of it. This show is just really good at being wholesome and not being so light and making wizards seem like not a big deal. Like, they still feel really serious and stuff. The only consequence they get is having their phones taken away for a couple weeks, which, do we do that anymore? Or I don't really know what goes on in the real world. We should be taking away phones more often than that, and that should be a prize, not a punishment. Let's make it positive without the phones, huh? So next we have episode 13, There's Something About the Russos, and this is where the conflict really comes in. So it starts off as this normal campy episode. Billy decides to make popcorn, but uses magic to do it, and Milo's like, why would you do that? It just takes 3 minutes. And it's so funny. It's the most like mundane humor, but the kids are really good at carrying it out. And Milo's rival, Bianca, is already getting suspicious of the Russos to begin with, and now it's going to be a lot harder because she ends up seeing Billy use magic on the popcorn. The B-plot is interesting in this episode. So Roman has a date with that girl from earlier. All these episodes finally lead to something, and he really wants to impress her, so he's asking advice from Billy. But really, he's focused on wanting this to be a secret. And the episode seems pretty normal until Bianca comes into the room, approaches Milo, and says that she saw something crazy go down.
But then I saw Billy pop a bag of popcorn right on the counter.
It's funny because, like, nobody is taking this Bianca girl seriously, and yet the audience knows, like, she knows they're wizards at this point. Like, you guys are screwed if she sees this. She ends up telling Milo what she knows, and he panics and pushes her into the mirror. So we thought that she was suspicious before, but now she definitely knows. And then the mirror breaks. So now this girl is stuck in the original wizard lair with all that magic stuff going on, and she's essentially like, I'm going to tell the world, like, everybody's going to know you're wizards. But it's kind of cool that Milo's the one to push her in. Like, that's such a funny character moment for him. The interesting conflict in this is that since the mirror broke, they can't just automatically fix it. They have to go back to where it originally was first built, which would be that fridge in New York. So we get kind of like a passive reference to the sub shop. It definitely feeds into the original series a lot. I like that there's this girl that is so sure she saw magic this early on in the series, because I don't remember that happening in the original Wizards at all. Like, this is so close to home, and this girl is about to out the whole family. Like, there's a lot of stakes going on, and the fact that she's locked in this room with Gata, the kid's mom, is just so random. And it's so funny because she's so bad at covering up the fact they're wizards. Like, obviously something's going on here. The thing I like about this episode a lot is how quickly it kind of turns into, like, this big adventure of Justin and Billy having to team up, go back to where this sub shop was originally, which is this new restaurant, and they have to find a way back into the wizard lair. It comes with a bunch of series of spells that make things a little bit harder to happen. Winter joins them on this mission, and Billy uses magic to kind of get them back into the lair. But it's kind of hard because they're in a lot of public situations, so Billy has to be really careful about using magic. Justin is still like the same character he was in the original series. Like, he would go on the adventure and be just the one that's like, we can't do this. Like, that is very Justin of him. I like how him being a dad doesn't really mean a lot of changes had to be done for his character. They could kind of throw us back into the show pretty easily. As Roman's already returning from his date, he runs into his mom and Bianca, who are in the wizard lair. Next thing you know, the secret is getting more and more out, and now Gaeta is just upset at the fact her son didn't tell her he was going on a date. It's crazy how like the A, B, and C plots kind of got thrown out when this girl thinks she found out these guys are wizards, and that had to kind of take precedent over all the events going on. I like that. Like, that's a really interesting way to build everything up by the end. Something that a normal conventional sitcom couldn't even do unless it was like heavily based on lore. And I bet you're probably thinking, how are the Russos gonna get out of this one? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, Bianca clearly knows. Oh wait, they just have a memory erasing spell. That was easy enough. If this episode had to remind me of anything, it would probably be the Harper Knows episode, because that one is very centered around wizards being a secret. Like, they have the whole family pressuring Alex not to tell Harper about their secret, and even though it's not like that with Winter and everybody's kind of open about this, it doesn't mean that there's not a threat of something going loose. Could also remind me of Wizards Exposed, when the entire world ended up finding out there were wizards. Like, that would be interesting too. I feel like there's a lot of connections to the old show in this one, mainly the later series, which is funny because we're still in season 1. Like, that's insane. Okay, then we have season 1, episode 14, Ready Player Wand, which is a cool parody of the movie Ready Player One. And this episode is really fun. I feel like they're actually using the Wizards persona to make this episode a lot more interesting than any sitcom could have been. Basically, the premise of this is them becoming a board game, but I'll get into that in a second. This episode's actually in a lot of fun spirit because it's just such a grounded episode idea that Roman keeps winning all these board games, and it's family game night. I don't know if you guys remember that, but there was a family game night in the original series too. And here it's a lot more modernized. I like that they kind of lean into the fact that games nowadays that are like with a group are more so Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing-esque than they necessarily are what they used to be with like Monopoly and Chutes and Ladders and stuff, where the wizard world gets collided because Billy wants to have a game that Roman can't win. This ends up going way too far when her and Winter go to the wizard lair, find a board game that is essentially a Jumanji ripoff, Haunted Mansion, and it's like Clue, where you get a weapon, you're in different rooms, but also kind of escape roomy, where their entire house transforms into this game. And it's cool that the whole family and Winter are playing. Like, I like that they actually are having everybody be a part of this. Magic gets involved because the entire house turns into this new setup. And this is a clever way of using a single location, but also mixing it up a lot. Like, it looks like it's genuinely like taken straight out of a play. And each of the characters get assigned a role in this. Like, Billy's a cheerleader, Winter is a Sherlock Holmes type, and for some reason, Justin is just in spandex in like an 80s outfit.
Ooh, I'm not mad at it.
Oh, but Milo's outfit's kind of cute. It's like just him as a little scientist. Aw. Basically, they all have to work together to find a way out of here. And there's a lot of hints and clues, and it's funny because it like goes between being their house and this escape room type place over and over again. The coolest part of this episode, though, is the effects and transitions. Like, they make it look like you're watching a board game by having every character have their own piece. And it's like, they didn't have to do that. Whoever directed this episode really committed to this bit. The plot shifts to be a lot more about Roman this time around, where he's so focused on winning and Billy's so focused on trying to prove him wrong that they end up getting into actual danger. A spider ends up catching all the characters in a web, albeit comedically, having them like be pretty much stuck, and the only one that could really save them is Roman, but Roman's real fear is spiders, so he does not want to take them on, and he's so funny when he's scared. He just like runs away despite the fact he's dressed as Indiana Jones. Kind of feels like a little bit of a horror episode in a way, which I like. And as they're like crammed up in the kitchen with this giant spider about to eat them, it's almost like things are actually about to go wrong until they realize all they need to do is solve the game. And once they get that figured out, then everything goes back to the way it was. So nothing was really at stake, but at the same time, everything was happening. You know, like we were invested in Roman's story and we were interested in seeing if Billy had to save the day or if he can actually come through and help. And I like that a lot. And I like that Justin was a good sport about it and really cared, because it still means he could be nerdy while also having fun, you know? After that episode, things start getting serious and they don't calm down, which is good because that was like a nice filler episode. I was going to spend time talking about how it reminds me of Family Game Night from season 2 of Wizards of Waverly Place, but do you really need me to go into all that? Because I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. The next episode, 15, Quest Birthday Ever, is when things actually get kicked up a notch. These kinds of episodes I actually don't see on Wizards of Waverly Place as much as I see in like cartoons. Like my favorite show, Shaolin Showdown, would have an episode where like one of the characters would go on a quest and it would be more this like apprentice master type setup, which is pretty relevant for the way they're setting up Justin and Billy. And it's really cool. I like this like sensei type role Justin gets to play because it makes him more of a moralistic character than necessarily a smart aleck. And they're adding to the lore once again. It's like this whole quest concept is interesting. So Justin announces that essentially when a wizard turns 13, they are supposed to go on a quest. And it's usually something that tests their brain power or their courage or something like that. I don't know. Billy has a speech about it. Insert here.
It's gonna test every part of me. Brains, courage, guile. Not 100% sure what guile is, but I know it's getting tested.
So yeah, Justin is going to assign Billy something really challenging, or so we think. Turns out he is just going to give her a quest that involves her finding this library book. Kinda lame, Justin. Like, I feel like he could have came up with something more interesting. Like, when you're a genius at the wizard world, why are you not just a little bit more interesting of a person, you know? Like, you could deal with magic. That's cool. And this is where we get a hint of some of that other stuff that's been going on in the background throughout the season. Like, one by one, there's been different villains that are kind of targeting Billy, and we kind of don't know why, because she is just like a normal wizard. Like, why would she have any special influence over what's going on? A random cloaked being, which is essentially evil, comes out of Billy's mirror and ends up taking Justin's request assignment and replacing it with this magical box. And as an audience member, like, I fall for this. Of course, since the box is getting in the way, Billy would assume that is for her. So she ends up going inside of the box, which is honestly a cool concept, and she gets sent on her birthday quest, which is really being misled. So she ends up in this really dark cavern cave type place that says only the truly powerful may pass. And it's so perfect because of course she assumes this is Justin, and wow, that's scary already. Justin's got some funny bits in this episode, like thinking he's so clever to send her to the library, and he does like some weird sleuthing thing down the hallway, which is worth watching. I don't know, this episode just made me laugh out loud a little bit. And Gaeta has a really sweet side to her. Like, she wants to throw Billy a party for her birthday, and she just wants her to have a good time because she hasn't really had that kind of warmth in her own life before. They end up getting a party planner that kind of streamlines everything to be a lot more what Gianna wants than anybody else, like even for Billy. He's like a wizard party planner, which I didn't realize we needed, but that's not actually what the episode's about. Let me get back to Billy. So Billy is in this really dark cavern, fire spewing up from the ground, and she basically has to platform over a bunch of random canyons. I don't know why there's no metaphor behind this. It's just a random setup. There's kind of unnecessarily a C-plot where Roman and Milo are playing video games, but they get bored, so they end up seeing what Billy's up to and find the chest. They end up going into the cavern with Billy, which I don't think is 100% necessary, but whatever, it's part of the plot. And they help her get to the end of her quest, which turns out to be to get this really shiny amulet that's across the cavern. They use their video game skills to help her get to the end. And I wish there was more of a metaphor for this. Like, is it teamwork? Is it like meant to be? It feels kind of randomly placed, that that Milo and Roman are helping her. I mean, they have some good one-liners, so I guess that's a reason to keep watching. Like, the comedy in this show is really good and spot on for the fact that they're so focused on the lore. Right as they get the amulet, they're about to head back, but end up in danger, only falling from a cliff, which is terrifying. Justin ends up jumping into the quest and helping save them all. That's when they realize that the quest was kind of being misled. Like, this is not what Justin had them do. So everybody's a little confused and off-put by whatever just happened, leading to a really weird energy. Something I kind of like that the show is not afraid to give us as an audience. Like, I should be a little bit worried about what's going on. Questions keep coming up and nothing gets answered. And that's something the show is doing really well, like holding back their reveals and actually having a meaning for it. And then at the same time, we're getting this really genuine story of Gianna setting up a party for somebody who's never had. It ends up being like a party that Billy wouldn't really want at all. It's like pink and frilly, and that's not really her style. Roman takes credit for it, which is kind of jerky of him. I don't know why he's just saying he did it too. Like, you were on the quest the whole time, buddy. And yeah, but Billy's flattered because she's never had something like this, and it turns into a heartwarming moment. So not only do we have questions and confusion about this new power that Billy had just found, but we're starting to have a little heartfelt moments too. And that's why this episode just, it did a good job making me feel warm. And this is where I'm finding myself having a hard time comparing it to the original show, because I feel like the stakes were never this high in the original first season of Wizards of Waverly Place. I mean, the closest it's come to is probably Wizard School, when Alex goes in and finds out that somebody's evil at the school and has to kind of catch her in the act. This is a little bit different. It's more like they're being given the roundabout wild goose chases, and Billy is kind of being coerced into falling for something, some kind of dark magic that we're not quite sure of yet. And in the original show, like, when it did get kind of plot twisty, we saw a lot of these elements, and they're doing it really well this time around. Like, it feels like the original show, but also jumping off into new territory. Being just about Billy instead of the other show, which was more so about Alex, Max, and Justin, that's like leaning into a stronger narrative. It's easier to go from episode to episode and be more serialized when we're following one character and their emotional journey, especially as we see her go from being a rebel and like trying to figure out what she sees in herself, as well as like becoming this wizard and coming of age. Like, there's a lot of elements that make this feel very organic in a way that I can't even like compare to iCarly or any of the other reboot shows. Like, it just, they all do such a good job at being their own thing while also respecting the initial show. It's so hard to figure out how to describe the next one. Season 1, episode 16 is called While You Were Sleepcasting, and it's a funny episode, but also it definitely reeks of nostalgia. Like, it feels like it would be in the original show while also accomplishing a decent bit of plot, because it's kind of about Billy trying to fit in. Billy and Winter get an opportunity to mingle with one of the popular girls at school. This means a lot to them, something that I hadn't seen in so long. I feel like I didn't realize teenagers still kind of broke off into different sectors of popularity, but I like that, like, they're focused on, like, Billy wanting approval from this girl. Like, she's really sweet, and Roman also has a crush on her, which, Roman, don't forget about that fairy tale girl. What happened to her? So things escalate really quickly for Billy in this, because this new girl wants to be their friend, and they're like, oh, let's hang out after school, cool, yeah. And then when they get back to Billy's house, Gaeta is like, why don't you sleep over? And Billy is like, no, I have a problem with that. And it kind of gets this dramatic twist that we don't really know what it is. And then she reveals to Winter that it's because she sleepcasts sometimes, and it's when she accidentally uses magic in her sleep, and it's like, it's kind of this anxiety-inducing experience if she falls asleep without wearing this certain type of headgear. Something that's really interesting for the premise of the show, like a really specific insecurity to have, to be like, no, I just don't want to fall asleep at a sleepover. Something that seems like a normal high school problem that could escalate because she's a wizard. And seeing her be insecure about this just reminds me that she's just growing up and trying to go through her own trials and tribulations, figure out who she is, and that's a really sweet premise. It reminds me of I Almost Drowned in a Chocolate Fountain, mainly because it's an entire episode devoted to this one night where it's really important things go a certain way. In the original, it was for Selena Gomez to go on a date with this guy she had a crush on, and in this episode, it's the girls wanting to fit in with the popular crowd. Magic gets in the way with both. where Billy ends up having a nightmare, all because she's like throwing spells in her sleep. She falls asleep when they're all having a sleepover, and it's wacky. It kind of reaches into the insecurities that Billy's been having lately, and it is really an interesting plot point to see this character care so much about how she's perceived. And it's funny because in the I Drowned in a Chocolate Fountain episode, something similar escalated where magic got to Alex in a way that she started caring more about chocolate than she did about her normal circumstance. Like, in this way, sleepcasting is Billy's distraction and kind of getting in the way of her normal life. But they did a really good job at evolving the show to be something a lot more interesting than impressing a guy. You know, like, this is actually what Billy's going through. Something that the new show does really good. In the B plot, Justin and his kids are trying to have a boys' night since the girls are having a sleepover, okay? I like it when shows theme around this idea that, like, the genders switch off and then they bond over really specific things, and then, I don't know, it's funny in a sleepover setting. I feel like they kind of did it in the new iCarly with Miss Benson sleeping over one of their houses, and that was unexpected but fun. Everybody but Billy gets involved in this sleepcasting incident because all these spells are going so haywire, and Gata is the one who inevitably goes into her dreams and helps her out by hearing why Billy's insecure. And it's really sweet. It's a nice moment. The sleepover ends in embarrassment when this new girl like wants answers of what was going on, and while everybody's like poorly trying to cover it up, it's clear that the Russos are really suspicious all the time. Where's Bianca when you need her? Billy feels better about herself by the end of the episode because despite the fact that she wears headgear, this new girl says she wears headgear too, so they end up bonding, and I guess that's enough to create a resolution to the episode. Oh my gosh, and the boys end up going centaur tipping, which is a parody of cow tipping. Not sure if you guys heard of that, but cow tipping is when teenagers run and push over a cow. I learned about it from back at the barnyard on Nickelodeon and some random folklore, and that's just such a random weird thing that I didn't know people used to do. I don't know. Ask your grandfather or your grandfather's grandfather. They end up tipping the centaur, and it ends up coming back to bite them. The centaur shows up to their house and push Justin over, calling it person tipping. Oh, that's funny. What a nice end to that episode. Yeah, all around, definitely gives me Hannah Montana vibes, just in the fact that, like, it's kind of about her managing this double life and fitting into her normal life. The same way that original episode, I Almost Drowned in a Chocolate Fountain, kind of reminds me of Hannah Montana. I mean, they were on at the same time, but this double life really was an interesting concept when it came to storytelling. And it's cool seeing it come back and be entertaining in this new era. Season 1, Episode 17 is called Abra-Disaster, and this is a Winter and Billy episode, something I really wasn't expecting. The whole premise around this is the moral that being honest is better than being nice.
Yesterday she pulled a rabbit out of a hat. I didn't know rabbits could scream, but now I do.
So Winter is getting into magic. She wants to be kind of like the Russos, you know, this new family she's trying to fit into, which is kind of a sweet concept. And she does a magic trick for them, and they're like, oh my god, this is so bad. But Billy doesn't want to tell her the truth. She doesn't want to hurt her feelings. So she just says she was good at it. And next thing you know, Winter is trying to compete in the magic show, so she could actually, like, prove that she is one of them, which is actually really sweet. Roman gets really stressed out because he's gonna have to do a journalistic report of this event, which is so funny. And since Winter's going to be involved in it with this, like, confidence, Billy is worried that she's gonna make her embarrass herself. She ends up using magic to make it seem like Winter is better than how she actually is, and it kind of makes her have to double down on her plans. It allows her to do so well that she's asked to be a part of the full-on magic show. This clearly concerns everybody in the cast because Winter isn't good, and because Billy's trying to be nice, it's all a lie. It reminds me of an episode of Hannah Montana where Lily was so bad at singing, but she wanted to be in the talent show, so Miley told her she was good at singing, only for her to be embarrassing herself. It's so cool that, like, Disney Channel plots can spiritually come back into this new era of sitcoms. Like, that's something I'm really nostalgic about, like, when they manage to take old familiar ideas and make new twists on them. It's a lesson in helping somebody too much to a point where they don't learn or grow on their own, which is something I feel like is really really relevant today more than ever. Winter's tricks are looking better and better on stage, all because of Billy pulling her own weight. Then of course things have to be escalated way too far as they get into a giant chamber of rising water and they need to escape. And it's crazy because this is when Billy actually got honest with Winter, told her what she was doing, and Winter was like betrayed. So the two kind of get into an argument and they can't even resolve it before this whole box of rising water thing happens. And Billy already put her wand down, so they're essentially screwed. I guess they're gonna die in front of their entire class, which, do you think they would make this happen in a middle school performance? I really hope not. It's cute though, because it's the perfect scenario for them to actually start making it up to each other. They have like a good heart-to-heart in the moments of death, and everything turns out okay, as something you would not expect in a sitcom. The B plot's a little basic. It's essentially Justin trying to spend quality time with Milo, and it keeps ending up in like a lot of embarrassing scenarios because Justin really doesn't know how to act cool. Like, he even uses the term on the chain instead of off the chain, and it's like, Justin, you were definitely young at that point when that phrase was invented. I don't know why we're acting like you're too old for that now, you know? Or maybe I'm just insecure because I was his age. Winter somehow came through and got them out of that box, which is insane because she doesn't actually have magic. I don't know how a magic trick would get you out of a life-threatening situation like that, but I guess maybe that's part of the moral of the story. I don't know. All around, this episode was a lot of fun. I feel like it reminds me a lot of Spiritual, a lot of episodes of the original Disney Channel shows in spirit. I can't remember a lot of episodes where Alex was trying to help Harper with magic. There was a lot of them though. Actually, there were a lot of episodes where Harper tried to do something her own way. Alex ended up using magic to help her get through that. But yeah, still a good trope. It definitely is necessary to keep in a show like this. I like seeing the fact that Winter is actually interested in being more a part of the Russos family. It feels really wholesome. The next episode we have is episode 18, Hit Me With Your Best Bot. And this one's interesting because Billy essentially is feeling left out now that Roman and Winter are creating a robot and they kind of don't want her involved. It's more of a science thing and Billy's more of magic, which is kind of funny. It reminds me of the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour a little bit. It's cute to see Billy feel left out. She even recruits Milo to kind of compete against them just to teach them a lesson. And of course, the thing is they're not supposed to use magic, but how long do you think it takes for them to actually use magic? Yeah, not that long. In the B plot, Justin realizes that he needs a serpent scale to help finish this recipe for a spell he's creating.
Expired? Those dates are just suggestions. I'm sure it's not really expired.
He doesn't have it, so he has to go to this wizard flea market type place, which is a cool idea for a plot. It kind of reminds me of the dragon episode where they have that guy that sells them the dragon, and you realize that they could rip you off in the wizard world. Yeah, we get to see a lot more of the wizard world and how like potions and things can be traded or bought, which is kind of cool. So Billy and Milo get this giant cauldron, and they try to make a robot out of like a bunch of just random pieces. It's so funny to see them just like throwing stuff in as if it's just gonna create a robot. And seeing Milo and Billy bond is really cute because I feel like I've not seen plots with them yet. It's definitely gonna grow the show a lot more the more the siblings get along. Like, it makes me think of the original series a lot more. Yeah, so at this market, Gata follows Justin and she finds a lot of really cool stuff. We get a lot of fun magic moments, like the fairies are working there, and Gata accidentally takes something that turns her into a troll, which, by the way, I get it. We like the original series and when it did like cheesy makeups or special effects, but it's kind of awkward to see her as a purple monster the whole time. Justin's whole plot is he keeps offending this one ogre with one eye, and I love seeing him like try to defend himself. It reminds me a lot of like Drake and Josh, with Josh trying to fit in but going horribly wrong. Like, Justin's really good at being that type of character too. As the robot competition continues, they start trashing each other and even fighting at school about who is going to win this. And it becomes more about magic and science. Oh, and Billy brings this giant new robot and they're kind of like, you used magic? And she's like, no way, why would I do that? But it's like a huge robot. There's no way you just made that. Like, come on, Billy. But they acknowledge it, so it's a lot funnier that way. It ends up going buck wild all over the gym room floor. war during this robot war competition. It reminds me of that robot war episode of Zoe 101 where they have robots fight each other. Justin has trouble trying to get this serpent scale so bad, and next thing you know, he's running into a lot more trouble with Giada. Turns out if he doesn't find this, she's gonna be in deep trouble. And turns out the only person selling a serpent scale is the guy he keeps offending, the ogre. Oh my gosh. So now he has to like kind of make up for every wrong misunderstanding he did, and he's so bad at it right off the gate. But the guy is so funny, I don't even like care. The ogre ends up getting scared of Gaeta, and Justin essentially makes it look like he's defending him and actually gets on his good side, allowing him to finally buy the serpent scale, and that's kind of the end of that plot. Meanwhile, Billy feels bad because her robot went so chaotic. When it comes to resolving the robot plot, basically Roman and Winter are there to save the day. Billy kind of made everything a lot more dangerous with this new magic invention, so they have to fight the robot back. The episode kind of ends with Billy getting away with it. Roman saves the day, so everybody's like kind of off on a good note, and they talk about the fact that Billy needs to be kind of a better person. Fair enough. But I just like, sure, it's like kind of a filler episode. It doesn't really accomplish a lot when it comes to the plot and everything that's about to happen on this show, but it's still fun, and I like seeing Roman have to step up once again. I definitely don't think the original series had the kids get away with as much as they did. Like, Justin is never finding out about anything that Billy gets away with, unlike the real show, which is like Jerry and Teresa had a lot of moments where they found out that the kids were up to no good. They'd have to bail them out of a lot of situations, but this didn't really have to be bailed out of. It was more like friends coming together to realize their worth, and Billy not using shortcuts in a way that could compromise her values with her friends. Something really sweet. I like it when episodes do this. And trust me, like, there's gonna be a lot more plot going on, so it's not like this isn't a fun little break. Oh, well, speak of the devil, or should I say wizard, episode 19, Raiders of the Locked Archive, is when things get a lot more intense. So there's two things going on in this episode that I feel like it's a double A plot episode because so much is happening. So the whole family is going to be heading to the wizard commissioning office because Justin has a chance to be on the board, which would mean he was in a big position of power ever since he was fired from WizTech, which would kind of be a big dream of his. So he's really hyped on it. I like that we're kind of steering away from the school plot lines and going a little bit more into the wizard world plot lines. We see the woman come back from the episode before where she was testing on Roman's wizarding skills. So there's a lot of consistency. This woman is a lot of power at the wizard community. And sure, that sounds like it's a really steep, but guess what's even more steep? The fact that Billy still has that amulet from the Quest episode. So I feel like if we were talking about filler, like this immediately precedes the events of that episode where she's a lot more curious about this amulet and it almost is like drawn to her, concerning her a little bit. And this is where we're gonna get our answers in this episode. Something that I've really wanted. They have a sweet moment where Billy is like bringing the amulet with her and she wants to find more answers. And Roman's like, okay, but like you can't keep secrets from us. Like it's okay to keep it from the parents, but not from us. And that's a loyalty thing. I like that Roman's kind of about that. The amulet starts being weird and telling Billy what to do. Like she's like, you need to go with Justin. And so Roman and Milo follow her. And then when they actually get to the place, they see that they should be going to the archives room, which is interesting because it's like, why would she need to go to the archives? I like that Justin's plot is just as important where he has to speak in front of the board in a way that like, if he wants to get this commissioner's job, he has to look like a really good wizard. And there's people here to testify against him. Oh my gosh, it's people from the previous episodes. The centaur he tipped a couple episodes ago, that's somebody who's giving a vouch for Justin. And then another person. So if you care about Justin and his journey, this is kind of a big deal. And I kind of do. You know, like he's the only original character. Like I want him to be back in a position of power, considering the series starts with him kind of down on his luck. So it's fun to watch and like really care about the outcome of this situation. In the B plot, or A plot, I guess. I'm getting really confused, see? So Billy, Roman, and Milo find the archives, and it's guarded by this big man, and most of the episode is them trying to find a way around the man. Like, they even have Milo stand on Roman's shoulders just to sneak in, which is such a cartoony, like, plot line to even do. I can't believe they do that. And it works! They actually trick him into leaving.
Remember all those times you made fun of me for being shorter than you?
Yeah?
So do I.
Billy?
long enough for them to find a painting with a prophecy on it, and Billy is able to read it. She just needs like a little bit of time, and too late. The guy comes back, stopping her from being able to finish reading it. And I feel like I had a good clue of what was going to be read. Like, Billy is going to be the one to end the world. That is a crazy, crazy idea for a prophecy. Oh, spoiler alert, I guess. Well, you guys need to know. It's interesting because it's a picture of Billy with an amulet, and the world is basically crumbled around her, making it feel like, oh my god, like something is going to happen. And she feels the weight of that pretty quickly as well. The episode culminates when Justin is standing up for himself and being like, look, you guys, you need me here, and I care about people and stuff, whatever main characters need to say to get the promotion, I guess. He realizes something more important than getting this role is that Billy is in trouble and he can sense it. So he goes to the archives to kind of defend Billy in a little magical battle between him and the Guardian of the Office, which is really cool to look at. But in this scenario, Justin's kind of the bad guy. Like, this guy's getting paid to block this archive. So why are you fighting him, Justin? But yeah, a lot of moralistically questionable things go on here, but I like it that it's more in the wizarding world that these things happen. The commissioner that is usually in charge of everything comes in and defends Justin, saying that they want him to be a part of this position of power, which is really exciting for kind of everybody. In the end, Milo actually steals the prophecy, giving it back to Billy. So now she has enough time to read it, sees that she's the one to end the world. Ruh-roh. Existential crisis cued. And I really like the way they did it. It seemed like it was a simple episode about Justin trying to get a promotion, but you could tell that whatever's going on with this amulet thing is going to be taking precedent really soon. And the fact that Billy is trusting her instinct, kind of keeping it between her, Milo, and Roman is really cool. It all rings like very 2000s plot lines, and the original Wizards almost couldn't do it this well. You know, like there wasn't a build up toward anything big. There wasn't a lot of heart that needed to be had. They were in the same family, so they were kind of sworn to each other. But Billy needing to stay in this family, feeling insecure, like borderline running away at different times, like it's important that everything is balanced very carefully in order for her to live there. And I like that. It adds a lot of stakes, and we care about Justin's role in it all. We care about where Selena's been, and there's just so much to expect going forward. And considering we only have 2 episodes left, like I am hooked. I remember when I first saw this, I like had to go to the next episode and then the following one before I could even stop. I'm gonna ditch comparing it to the original show's episodes because at this point it is just so on its own that we don't even need to jump into that. So the next episode is called When You Wish Upon a Squonk, episode 20, and it actually escalates even further. Now, if you heard me say the title of this episode, which you probably did less than 2 seconds ago. What's a squonk? That's what I'm thinking. That's what you were thinking. That's what we're all thinking. What is a squonk? I went into this episode being so confused about it and interested at the same time. And it has a lot more bigger implications than you think of being like a simple one-off episode. I didn't cover this before, but in the episode, there's something about the Russos when they had Bianca coming so close to finding the Wizards' family secret out that they're wizards. She ends up leaving with this like magic crystal like ball, and we find out later what that really was. I like how they kind of didn't tell us before, but now they are telling us. It feels like end of season territory, especially since it starts with Jerry and Teresa coming in as a 2-part finale. Yeah, nostalgia. So they come in and they get to see their grandkids, which I'm like, oh, I forgot they're all related. It's definitely a nice way to go back to the old show without being too cheesy about it. And it sucks that we don't see Selena yet, but hey, just hold on because it's gonna happen eventually. Yeah, and Jerry gets to see Billy again, but this time they actually know each other, and it's kind of sweet to think about that. Teresa and Gaeta have a lot of plot together, which is kind of sweet. Like, I didn't expect them to have so many things in common until Teresa started talking about, like, hey, like, now that you know your family's wizard, like, how do you feel about that? And it kind of opens up, like, a really interesting psychological idea of, like, mental health. Like, are you taking care of yourself? Like, don't let this entire world of wizardry become from your world, or if it does, like, make sure, like, you're taking care of yourself in the process. I like that approach to this episode. So suddenly, and this is where the mystery begins, it starts to snow. Roman and Milo think that Billy did this because it's magic. Who could have done it? And now we just have a little hint that magic is going on and nobody's in control of it. Something I'm kind of scared of. Justin gets the role at the commissioner's office, and it's pretty much his first day right off the bat. I like that. I like that they're just letting us get to see this pan out. And right off the bat, Justin has some problems on his hands. They find out that there is like a magical outburst somewhere in Staten Island. The commissioner is like, aren't you training a wizard? And he's like, maybe that's her. And then we kind of lean into the fact that Billy's always been a rebel, and despite the fact that she's grown a lot since that first episode, they still kind of have their reservations or judgments about her, which is very interesting to start off. It's kind of the boy who cries wolf type story where everybody thinks it's Billy, but that's like doing way more harm than good. Of course, he defends her at first, but secretly he thinks it is her. Then we get a good plot twist. So while everybody's thinking the magic's going on because of Billy, Bianca comes in and reveals that that little ball she had earlier accesses this magic wishing guy named a Squonk. And he's mainly a jokester, somebody who just like causes mischief and stuff. And he definitely reminds me of Beetlejuice. I'm not sure if you guys saw the musical, the show, Beetlejuice, but he is designed exactly like that. And it's funny because it's like he is a troublemaker like that too.
You bunch of losers!
Jerry notices him before anybody else, which is kind of cool, and he, like, recognizes that he's a Squonk, so, like, I like Jerry being involved in the wizard world still. Like, there's something about it that's really humbling to me. And the Squonk turns Jerry into a turtle. Okay, dangerous. Justin tries to approach Billy and is like, hey, like, what's going on? And Billy thinks that it is her. Like, even she believes it, which is kind of sad. She thinks that there's, like, a part of her that is becoming evil already because of that whole prophecy she learned. Justin reveals that he knew about the prophecy, and if I were her, I'd feel a little betrayed. He's like explaining that he's known this whole time. So Billy pretty much runs away. And then just in time, Justin, oh, pun, that was kind of cool the way that worked out. Justin realizes that it's creature magic that is the reason there's been weird sightings going on around Staten Island. Bianca's Squonk is creating it all, but it's too late. Billy's gone. And now they all have to capture the Squonk without Billy, which is definitely a really cool plot line. Oof, and then we get a fire finale to the episode where everybody is able to solve the Squonk situation, like Jerry, Teresa, Justin, they all come together, solve it, and they're like, where's Billy? And then we find out she ran away. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that leads us to the season finale. Isn't this exciting? Like, they're doing such a good job at leading to a bigger story, and the original show did not do this. Did not. Like, they had a couple, like, specials, like Wizards versus Zombies, this versus this, but like they never really gradually led up to something as much as they're doing here. Now, before we dive into this epic season finale, episode 21, Nigh is Now, we have to acknowledge the fact that there's exactly 21 episodes in this first season, mimicking the exact amount there was in the original Wizards, which, if you knew the original Wizards, the second season's like 30 episodes. I doubt they're going to be doing that, guys, but I don't know. I dare you to match it. We definitely need TV to be longer these days. So yeah, we get to the final episode of the season, and the last two have been 25 minutes as opposed to the usual 22, which is very exciting. I like that they take their time telling a story, and they don't really have to worry about act breaks the way sitcoms used to have to. So we start off right when Billy is missing. It's just Justin, Gata, Winter, and Milo. So even Roman's missing in this equation, which I like. I like that Roman and Billy kind of end up together a lot, especially when Billy and Justin aren't interweaving plots. Like, that's a nice relationship that's kind of their own age, where you could see how they bring out different parts of each other. And dang, there's just none of this is like the original series. It's getting insane. Oh, spoke too soon. Selena Gomez is here, and we finally get the story from right where we left off in the pilot, where Selena is kind of explaining how they both know the prophecy and maybe it's coming true, leaving the audience just as freaked out. And she looks a little different here. I feel like there's just something going on with Selena between the beginning and the ending. I don't really know what it is. I mean, Justin has some noticeable differences too, but I care about Selena because there's such minimal amounts of appearances by her. It's like almost all good. We learn that she's talking to the commissioner, and maybe there's something going on behind the scenes. There was a couple references earlier in these episodes where we learned that Alex actually has always been a part of the commissioner or the board or something, and there's something Alex knows that nobody else knows, which is even more exciting. I like that they're building toward that. So we get a nice little family reunion as Justin goes to the bus stop that Billy initially tried to run away in a way earlier episode, something that I really like that we're calling back to. Alex and him kind of have a heart-to-heart where they find out that there's something more than meets the eye to the situation. Their moment is really sweet because Alex is kind of praising him as a teacher, and that's really nice because they have had their ups and downs throughout the years, and like to see them like kind of come together is really cool. Meanwhile, Billy is on her way to who knows where, off into the distance, and Roman is running to keep up with her, and it's so funny watching this guy run. I don't know why this bit is just really funny. Then in the next scene with Alex and Justin, we finally get our answers. It turns out that all of this could be traced back to Dr. Evelini. Dr. Evelini is the one that has been sending different people then trying to reenact this whole plan of getting Billy to be the one to free the Evelini spirit. Apparently that amulet she has that exact spirit and is what has been possessing her to do certain things. And while she thinks it's been a good thing so far, we learned that this whole time she was being manipulated. Good plot twist, and I like that Roman gets to be here for it. It's fun watching Alex and Justin have to go save Billy. They put Billy in this giant chamber, which is kind of cheesy. I feel like the scene is a little hard for me to believe, but it is cool watching brother and sister work together in the way that they used to in the original series. Some of these new villains, though, are really hard to believe. Like, I get it. They're attaching them to Dr. Evelini, so it makes a little bit more sense, but they just tend to act a little too theatrical for what I would think in the wizard world, but I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. I feel like it's still interesting enough of a story that, like, I could kind of look past that. The fight goes on further than this, though. The villain, Silas, ends up disappearing, and turns out he's holding the family hostage. Oh my gosh. So it's all the way back again into the living room. Something that I do not like as a part of this show. Like, I liked that little dungeon we were just at. Sure, it looked a little stagey, but why do we always have to come back to the living room at the end of everything? It's like taking the parts of a sitcom that aren't the best and trying to shoehorn them in. I still like the stakes being raised here, but that kind of bugs me. They kind of give a full circle resolution to Billy's whole arc this season, as he's about to waste Billy and everybody kind of comes together to defend her, realizing that family is the solution to everything. It's kind of the moral of the show. It's the moral of the episode. It's like magic can be just as strong as a family. And I'm telling you, I did not expect this next plot twist. So right as this guy is about to defeat Billy, Billy defends herself, knocks him out, but then Roman and Milo start fighting back. Oh my gosh. So Milo and Roman have wizard powers. Crazy revelation. I have more questions than answers. It's nice to see that we finally defeated the villain that was really manipulating Billy the most this season, and there's even more conflict now that both of these boys have wizard powers. It means we're essentially going to relive the original Wizards of Waverly Place, but there's a little more tension here considering Billy isn't technically a part of the family, but still they're gonna have to have a wizard competition. I like this. I like that the wizard commissioner comes back one last time, and she's kind of the role of Professor Crumb, as I'm now starting to realize. Like, she kind of sets the rules, we talk about everything. It's nice. It's a nice community we have going on here in Wizards. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, like, everything they're setting up for the next season is already freaking me out. And to believe that they had such a good run over the course of these 21 episodes, not just in terms of, like, viewership, but in terms of storytelling. Like, they did stuff that the iCarly reboot would never do. They did things that the original series couldn't have done because of the time it lived in, and they utilized such awesome things that they didn't have to, and that's something I really respect about this series. Like, if you take the time to sit through all 21 episodes, I feel like 90% of the time you're going to be really happy. Even the filler episodes have some awesome comedic beats. So if you're watching the original series and kind of tired of seeing it over and over again, you will get that same amount of nostalgia from this, and use this to kind of like reset your palette. Like if you really like the original show, take a break from it, see this, and then you'll go into the original show with a little bit more appreciation. Like I do feel like they took this to lengths that it didn't have to go in a good way. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know. Point is, Wizards Beyond Waverly Place is astounding. It is a great reboot. It is a great revival, and not only that, it's just a great sitcom. Like they exceeded the expectations of what a normal sitcom can do. The comedy is a lot sharper and impressive than even the original Disney show, Disney Channel counterpart. So thank you guys so much for watching me go through all these episodes. I hope I narrowed it down enough for us not to like be tortured, but you know what, this was a good time. So thank you guys so much for letting me do this video. Thank you so much for joining me on all my videos and actually working together to like have fun. Like it's nice to review all of these. It's nice to go over everything we've learned, cared about, all the morals we find important in watching shows like this. Like I definitely feel like this was well worth my time. So thank you guys so much, and until next time everybody, this is Johnny 2000, focusing on 2000s TV, movies, media, and so much more.